Good evening.
Good evening.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. Have to get a lady out of the hospital and do the test and ran late. Here we are. Okay. Stand for the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll call the CBZ meeting to order and we'll move on. The consent agenda. Is there any council member that has any questions in regard to anything on the consent agenda? Not, do we have a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented and authorize the mayor to sign it.
I'll second.
Mayo,
Aye.
Upshaw.
Aye.
House. Aye. Shields.
Aye. I just have one comment on the appropriations. I can tell you the favorite item at the school, dipping dots.
Yeah. I mean, just my kids.
We spend on dipping dots. I'm thinking,
That's
oh,
why
my.
just our family.
Yeah, there we are. Okay, I found that covered. Anyway, move on to comments from the public. Is there anyone here that would like to address the council in regard to anything that's not an agenda item?
I speak on the 401 East SKS. So can I
You want
sit
to
here?
address the council?
You want me to be there?
Yes,
It's best
please.
if you can stand up there or, you know,
Okay, and please tell us, oh, be careful. And please tell us your name.
My name is Balachandran Puliyam. I am the co-owner of one of the properties at 401 East, the Kaskaskia. And my wife was looking into the remodeling, and since you already know that I'm a handicapped person, I was never attending to any of the activities that was going on. And she had to leave to India all on a sudden because of COVID emergency. And I am unfortunately now into the mix of things. It so happened that I was not kept updated on all what was going on, including the letters that were sent by the city. Now, the only thing that I can promise at this time is that I can do whatever I can to prevent that building from being demolished. So that's the only thing that I want to say.
Thank you. Does any council member have any questions or? Okay, if not, we don't ever take any action or anything during a public comment session, so thank you for coming this evening.
Okay, thank you.
There's no one else here. We will move on to unfinished business, which is to set a public hearing to exceed the revenue neutral rate and 2022 budget.
the budget process includes some additional steps in 2022 with the passing of what we kind of referred to as Senate Bill 13. The city had to evaluate its revenue neutral rate and determine if the final adopted budget would exceed that revenue neutral rate. We reviewed the initial draft budget, and council eventually passed resolution 2021-11, which expressed the council's intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate. And then resolution 2021-11 also set the public hearing for exceeding the revenue neutral rate for Tuesday, September 14, 2021. Council must also conduct a public hearing on the 2022 budget as proposed, this is kind of the long-standing requirement for the budget process. So we have to have two hearings. Both hearings can be held at the same meeting. We just have to have the one regarding the revenue neutral rate first, and then take action on that. And then we can have a public hearing on the budget, and then we can take action to adopt the budget. So this is just setting up that public hearing for the budget itself for September 14th, 2021 at our regular meeting. And once that, if council gets that set, then we will get the state forms finalized and get it published and before that meeting. We have to do that 10 days, I think, before the public hearing. So.
Does anyone have any questions in regard to this? Okay, do we have a motion to set September the 14th?
I move that we set the public budget hearing for the proposed 2022 budget at the next regularly scheduled council meeting on Tuesday, September 14th, 2020 at 6:00 p.m. at Paola Justice Center.
2021.
That should be
Sorry.
2021.
I'll second. Smale?
Aye.
Upshaw?
Aye.
House? Aye. Shields?
Aye.
Okay, move on to new business, which is acknowledge a submission to the electronic municipal market access. Emma, I think this is something we do every year, isn't it?
It is, yes, it's part of our continuing disclosure policy. It puts our financials out there for the bond market, so, you know, we're transparent. So that has been submitted. Greg Barnberger helped us do that, and that's it. It's out there.
Okay. We need a motion to acknowledge the compliance. Do we have that?
Make a motion to acknowledge that in compliance with section 2 of the continuing disclosure policy for the city of Paola, the city clerk did provide to the governing body written confirmation that the 2020 audit report and 2020 operating data for the city of Paola were electronically filed on the electronic municipal market access or EMA system on August 4th, 2021.
Is that 2021 is the
No, the 2020
2020.
data was submitted. Yeah.
Right.
So we got the audit and our,
We're, gotcha. Okay.
I know, previous years was submitted this
I'm
year.
getting confused. I gotcha. Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Smale?
Aye.
Upshaw?
Aye.
House? Shields?
Aye.
We move on to the standard traffic ordinance, which is an ordinance number 3176.
Yes, so that, they did make a few changes to the STO this year, but mostly definitions. They did have a new section for funeral processions that was taken out of parades, and the transportation of alcoholic beverages, that is now part of the STO. But there's no changes that staff thought would be necessary in those. We'll still make the changes to the ATVs, golf carts, and worksite utilities as we have in previous years.
Mr. Detweiler, you reviewed this?
Well, it's always just important that we also include, and I think it is just routinely, all of the amendments that the city has made over the years. We have a little different sentencing for driving while suspended seconds and so on. I call it in the front of the book, they staple it in the front of the book. We've got a couple there, we've got a couple we staple in the back, but as long as we're including that in the adoption of the statewide ordinance, I don't have any objections. I thought Stephanie was nice enough, because I didn't understand the liquor thing. But if you care, she sent me a nice explanation, because Chief and I were just talking about it. I think really all it did was, once again, make legal what people have been doing. And it's like when you order a bottle of wine, I guess, maybe not around here so much, but in the city, you order a bottle of wine and you don't drink it all. They'll cork it for you. And they put it in a bag, and they tighten the bag up so you can't hypothetically open it, I guess. And they've made that legal. I don't know that that was exactly legal before, but they've made that legal. If you care, because I didn't know what it was, but Stephanie printed it out for me. And then you can take out certain bottles of beer. They contain between 32 and 64 fluid ounces if they are also in a container. So there's always something new and different. That's new and different, to say the least, here in Paola. These aren't open. I mean, the wine, I mean, you know, they're open, but then they're
Pre-shut.
corked.
Right.
You're corked and they're wrapped up. Same way with the beer. So there you go.
You still can't drive around with open
No.
containers.
No.
Okay, is there any other questions?
No, but I would like, when we get the books, to have one of the standard traffic and one of the UPC.
Just for old time's sake or what?
I actually get a lot of people, as in my
Asking
former position,
Yeah,
they call
yeah.
me and ask. And that way I'm halfway up to date, or can look it up.
I refer them on. I'm good at that too. Is there any other questions any council member has? Okay, do we have a motion then for ordinance number 3176?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 3176, incorporating by reference the 48th edition of the STO with certain omissions and amendments, and authorize the necessary signatures.
I'll second.
Snail,
Aye.
Upshaw.
Aye.
House. Aye. Shields.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Move on to the Uniform Public Offense Code. Offense Code ordinance number 3177.
Yes, they did the same with the UPOC, small changes, nothing real big that popped out. We will still, like we mentioned, we do make changes every year to these books, and we will continue to make these changes that we have always done. So the domestic battery, giving a worthless check, and equity skimming, those are omitted from the book. And there are, let's see, there are the changes that we make in the fines. So those will still be the same as always.
And the ones we omit is because they're handled in the county. Is that
We
why?
don't want to mess with them.
Yeah.
Just to be candid.
We go to district court.
Yeah.
You have anything you want to add?
No, that's correct. As long as they keep rolling over the ones that we adopted as the city that we think were necessary here, I'm fine with.
Thank you. Is there any other questions in regard to this? If not, do we have a motion for ordinance number 3177?
I move to adopt ordinance number 3177, incorporating by reference the 37th edition of the UPOC with certain omissions and amendments, and authorize the necessary signatures.
I'll second.
Snail,
Aye.
Upshaw.
Aye.
House.
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Formation of the Recreation Commission, which is a joint resolution 2021-014.
In June, the Recreation Commission Task Force was formed and included representation from Paola Unified School District 368 and the city of Paola, as well as members from the Paola community. And the task force explored what it takes to create a recreation system, discussed the advantages and disadvantages of having a formalized recreation system, and identified that the best option would be the model where the school district and the city work together to create a joint recreation system. The task force all agreed that it was important to give the community an opportunity to vote on the creation of a joint recreation system. The creation of the joint recreation system offers the community the chance to develop a multi-age amenity that would benefit our citizens today, as well as be an attraction to future generations. So a joint resolution with the school district and the city has been prepared. The resolution outlines the intent of both parties to submit to the qualified electors a proposition to create a joint recreation system. And the resolution includes the proposed ballot language. The USD 368 Board of Education unanimously approved the resolution at its meeting last night. And if the council approves resolution 2021-014 ballot question to create a joint recreation system, the question will then be placed on the ballot for the general election at the November 2nd. Election.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions in regard to this?
Thank you guys for getting this done so quickly. I know the task force had to get on it pretty fast, so thanks for all the work that went into this.
They did a good job on that, and I'm glad it's moving forward. The school board was pleased with it.
Yes, there was a lot of support from the school board, and I think they see that it could be a value to the community. So I think kind of exciting for the community, I think, to be able to
It's
get
been a
this in
topic
front
for a
of
long
the
time.
Yeah.
people. So
Did they have anyone there at the meeting that said anything? And no, it's just okay.
by that point, we'd set through their budget meeting, so.
Right.
Good point.
Nothing about their budget, but just imagine, yeah.
Right. Thank you. Okay, thank you for serving on that, Trent. Okay, do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-014, ballot question to create a joint recreation system and authorize the necessary signatures.
I'll second it.
Snail.
Aye.
Upshaw.
Aye.
House.
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
Thank you. See how that goes here.
That'd
Get
be
everyone
exciting.
informed as to what we're doing. Okay, hazard mitigation plan. This again is a resolution.
The Region J hazard mitigation plan was updated in 2019. Region J covers Anderson, Coffee, Franklin, Lynn, Miami, Osage, and Shawnee counties. And this plan includes the cooperative work of the local and state and federal agencies. Adoption of the plan ensures that our Paola residents are eligible for post-disaster relief and other special programs that FEMA or Kansas Department of Emergency Management may offer. The plan was scheduled for adoption in early 2020. The pandemic response kind of got in the way of all that happening, so that's why we're doing it now. Council's asked to consider and approve the resolution 2021-015, adopting the Kansas Homeland Security Region J hazard mitigation plan.
Any council member have any questions in regard to this? We don't ever need it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it'll be nice to have it in place if you do. If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-015, adopting the Kansas Homeland Security Region J hazard mitigation plan and authorize the necessary signatures.
I'll second it.
Snail.
Aye.
Upshaw.
Aye.
House.
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Move on to building lot size changes in the LDO, and this is an ordinance number 3178. I think he was talking about this at our work study with Randy.
Yes, ma'am, I was. So, our Paola Land Development Ordinance, which is our zoning regulations, currently states that lots platted prior to 1983 shall have a minimum lot area of 6,000 square feet. And lots platted after 1983 shall have a minimum lot area of 8,500 square feet. There are numerous lots in town and more of the established part of town that don't meet the 6,000 square foot requirement, just barely. A lot of them are typically, a typical lot is 50 feet wide, and a lot of them like 43 or 45. They're just smaller. Therefore, all these lots to be able to build on will require a variance by the Board of Zoning Appeals. It has, due to the housing shortage, it has been more of interest to build on these lots for to build on the lots, but to make an adequate size for the lot. So I don't want people to think we're putting this huge house on a small lot. The Planning Commission was looking for regulations that would provide flexibility in meeting the LDO's objectives without lowering the ordinance general standards. So the Planning Commission also held a public hearing on July 20th, where there was no public comment in person or writing. And they reviewed the section 21212 standards for ordinance text amendments for the LDO. The requirements that they all unanimously agreed upon were, the first one is applicants must submit a certified plot plan for staff to review before a permit application can be submitted for approval. This is no different than any other standard new construction home. Everyone requires a submitted plot plan, which has a house on it and it will show the buildable lot area. The plot plan shall comply with the setbacks required and stated in Article 4 of the Land Development Ordinance. Again, this is the exact same thing as every single new construction home. C, the combined square footage of the principal structure, detached garage, and utility and storage shed shall not succeed the maximum building coverage in Table 4, 110A. Where no maximum building coverage is provided, the combined structure shall not cover more than 70% of lot area. This is not new or made up, this is taken directly from the LPO as well. In D, the primary residential dwelling shall comply with section 15525, single family residential design standards. Again, same thing, every other house has to abide by. It says, it has to have a foundation, has to have siding, can't, be metal siding or anything like that. It has certain standards it has to abide by. And the last one is the primary residential dwelling shall comply with the building code requirements adopted by the Paola Municipal Code. So this also, same standards as every single family home, size, everything will be standard. Minimum size for a home in Paola is 960 square feet. So every house will be minimum 960 square feet. Other than that, I don't think that they had any other conditions, but they just wanted to be sure that this would allow staff to be able to go through these conditions. And if they do not feel like it's acceptable, then they can still approach the planning commission. So this would just kind of help alleviate one step if it is able to be alleviated.
Has that 960 square feet always, has that been that amount for a long time or?
Since the adoption of the building codes.
Okay.
I'm glad to see we're having interest in some of those infill lots. And this is mostly on the older part of town. It's
Yes.
not many of our new
No.
subdivisions. It's just
It's
where houses have come down and the lot is just sitting there.
That is the biggest issue, where the older houses are coming down on the smaller lots and you can't rebuild because our ordinance doesn't allow it. So this would help alleviate that a lot.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I'm glad to see they're starting to use those infill lots. I
Yes.
talked to a builder at City Hall one time about utilizing some of those. So I'm glad to see that. If no council member has any other questions, to have a motion for ordinance number 3178.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 3178, adding a section 4.120, minimum lot size, residential uses of Article 4 of the Paola Land Development Ordinance.
I'll second.
Smale,
Aye.
Upshaw.
Aye.
House. Shields.
Aye.
Thank you. Move on to consider changes to the traffic control device schedule resolution number 2021-016. And I can honestly say I did not read all those.
Well, there was
So I can't-
there was honestly just one change in that. We talked about this at work study, and we adopted the latest version of the traffic control device schedule, and we started placing the signage. Some of that was, there was some signage that had been in place, or it had been on the schedule, but the signage itself hadn't been in place. That became a concern from a group of citizens, and so, and primarily up there on West Shawnee Street between Silver and Gold, we had the sign on the north side, and just with everything, it looks like we can put it on the south side. It doesn't really have neighbor impact, but it's limits the parking on that second street, and that's what this amendment. That's the only thing this amendment really is trying to accomplish. So,
Did you hear anything more about the one in Country Club? Is it Overhill or Chris?
well, we did. Hillcrest and Hilltop.
Yeah.
And I did talk to a citizen up there, but I never really, I kind of talked to him and explained to him what we were trying to accomplish with that, and that's all I ever heard from that person. So I didn't feel like we needed to make this change, make a change up there away from that.
Was there any other calls in regard to any of them, or are all the new signs up now? Where they need to
I
go?
think they are all up now. And I had one on Piankashaw, and I visited with that person, and it was just kind of explaining what we were doing and why we were doing it. That seemed to be all right, so.
I'm glad that all those resolved, like I say, Quite a list. Okay, does anyone have any more questions in regard to this? Okay, if not, do we have a motion for the resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-016, amending the traffic control device schedule and authorize the necessary signatures.
One second.
Snail,
Aye.
Upshaw.
Aye.
House. Shields.
Aye.
Thank you. Move on to donation of police equipment here.
With the updated patrol vehicles, I'll give a little intro. I'm the lightweight on this, and then he can come in and answer all the questions. Basically, we got the new patrol vehicles, some of that equipment was either replaced due to age or it just didn't quite work with the new model year. And with that, some of that has been kind of reached its useful life with us, but other agencies might be able to utilize it. And so Eric and the police department, they developed a list of these resources, and that was included with the agenda item. And it also includes an older taser. And we're basically seeking approval to donate this equipment on the list to other law enforcement agencies in need. So what we're asking is council to approve that list of resources as presented, and then staff would reach out to local agencies first, and then maybe statewide if there's still things left. And then any donation would be contingent upon that agency, the requesting agency, completing that agreement of donated property and release of claims. And that way it just releases us of any liability that we have with that donation. And then that would just be kind of done as a staff level thing. You've approved the list, we'll get rid of the list, and we'll just things come in. That way we don't have to, hey, I got one thing and then this group gets one thing, we're back here all the time. We'll just work through that list.
I did learn a new word in here. I didn't know Donnie was a word.
What?
Donnie is a word. I learned a new word. I realized that's what first was.
How about Donor?
Well, that one I've seen. But Donnie-
Okay, you're halfway there.
Right, 50% there.
I just thought you were gonna ask about the taser again.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta buy that, Artie.
I know.
You wouldn't have to buy it, they'll give it to you.
Yeah. I don't know if I did Donnie or what there. Okay. Does anyone have any questions in regard to this? How do you get rid of this? Do you just put it out there?
We'll reach out to some local agencies first, but last time we did it, we put out on our statewide system, just anybody need any of this equipment. It was pretty quick how, or
Did it go
pretty impressive
fast?
how quickly some agencies jumped on it.
Good,
Some agencies desperately need some of this stuff.
good. I'm glad it'll help them. Better than sitting in the shed.
Yep.
Absolutely. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, we need a motion to approve this.
I'll make a motion to approve the list of decommissioned equipment 08-1021 and authorize staff to donate the listed equipment to requesting agencies utilizing the agreement to donate property and release claims.
I'll second it.
Snail,
Aye.
Upshaw.
Aye.
House.
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
All right, committee reports. I won't forget you tonight. We have a committee report.
Yeah, we actually took action on the one item that we had, so we've got, we put the wording together. The school, like Sid said, the school board approved it last night. We've approved ours, so it'll go to the ballot. And I think the next step will be, we'll start putting together, start talking about how we want the rec commission formed. Like, we don't even have, I don't think we have a meeting scheduled the other week, so
Okay.
that was the big push, was just to get that done, and that's done, so.
Yeah, and that's something like Matt mentioned last night. We don't have exactly, how that's gonna be formed. We know that with the way it's proposed, the school would have 2 people that they would select to be on that. The city would have 2, and then there would be one that group would select, but kind of the bylaws and all that kind of stuff haven't been worked out yet, so.
So it'll be a 5-member board.
Yep.
Sounds good.
But we had to get it by September 1, wasn't it?
Yep,
That's right,
September
to get
1
it
was the
on- to get
deadline.
it on all
To get it
this
on
ballot.
ballot.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it would have been another year.
Right.
Another election cycle, yeah. Okay, is there any other committee reports? Okay, now move on to staff reports.
So I wanted to provide a report on the 401 East Kaskaskia. We met with the property owner shortly after the last meeting. That wasn't a requirement of anything that we did. We just did that to make sure that they understood what the city's position was. And honestly, to prevent any potential unnecessary spending on the property and we also outlined if you were gonna, because the resolution talked about repairs could be made. We outlined that if you're gonna do that or proceed with that or pursue that, they needed to get an architect and engineer on board, and they needed to get a licensed contractor within the city of Paola on board as well. And we also provided information to them at that time about the property and what it would take to demo it, as far as getting a permit and all that. We did receive an engineer's assessment of that last Friday. It talks about significant structural issues that still exist in the house, and a copy of that was provided to council tonight. This is a direct quote, much of the building is not level, not plumb, and has issues with rot, needs reconstruction from the bottom up. So a lot of these concerns that we had and that caused it to become a dangerous and unsafe structure still exist. They had not been addressed with any of the previous work that had happened once they got the building permit. We do know that, like I said, it did take them some time to get the engineer and the contractor lined up. So there was some time of this, because they had until August 10th to get some work done. None of that, no work has been done, but they did get, like I said, they did get the engineer in that. Ultimately, staff's plan would be to solicit bids for the demolition of that structure or the structures on at the property of 401 East Kaskaskia. Council does have the ability to grant them more time. I think if more time is granted, we need to put a deadline in there, and we need to put specific things and a timeline of what they're going to get done by what, because honestly, I don't think they can get anything done. They can't get it all done in 30 days with what it's hard to believe that they could get everything that they need to get done in 30 days. So they'd have to be on a work plan. Then that means staff is managing their project for them. And honestly, they haven't demonstrated to be able to get that work done in a timely manner anyway, so.
How long has this been going on?
2016.
2016.
And you said they still don't have a contractor, correct?
They do have a contractor who is local licensed contractor with the city of Paola. But they have not done anything, because I think honestly, we need to sit down, if we want to give them more time, we need to sit down with them and say, okay, we're going to develop a work plan. My concern is if they miss deadlines, then we're back here saying, well, do we demo? Well, they've done enough, and then that can be if that's what council wants to do. But my concern is that we kind of creep down. We eventually get to a point where we've allowed them to put so much investment in there that it's hard to make that decision, even harder to make that decision. Anything else?
Anyone have any comment?
Okay.
Or
So what do we do?
you let us move forward as planned?
I mean, unless there's consensus to give them more time, we'll get a solicitation out for the demolition, and we'll just move that way.
I really don't see them getting any more time.
Is it public who their contractor is? Is that public information?
If it's on the building permit, it would be, we don't have a building permit yet.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, because there's so many people that can't find anybody to do anything for 6 months, I've been told. I mean, I just was curious
Well,
how they found it.
right.
Being nosy, I guess, actually.
Well, and I was wondering too, because in Aldridge's letter, it says competent contractor. So I was wondering if it was,
Yeah.
somebody that.
Well, this is major stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
This is no scraping thing.
Well, and I think that was a concern we addressed at the last meeting, was the fact that they've got major issues and they're worried about electrical and paint.
Yeah.
And I don't see it getting any better. We've been dealing with it since 2016, and I feel if we don't let it stand the way it is now and just move forward, then it's, 2022, 2023, we're still gonna be dealing with it.
And I think that from my perspective, staff level is the major concerns that we had with the structure, with it, that made it dangerous and unsafe were the structural issues, and they have not been addressed. And it's apparent by the engineer's assessment that there's still major issues there.
There's significant.
And those are-
costly, those are.
and yeah, that's-
significant.
Those are things that have significant dollars tied to it. So
Do you have a consensus? Can you?
I will just move, that's what we'll do. We'll get the solicitation ready for those, for the demo.
Sounds good to me.
Is that a consensus that?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm, as much as it, when someone comes to talk, it's difficult, but they've had 5 years,
Yeah,
Yep.
so.
Well, in my opinion, it would be different if they came in, they had the contracts, they had already started addressing some of the major concerns we had and just needed more time, but that still hasn't happened.
Nothing, so. Well, they've had, at the very beginning of this, there was a lot of progress, in the very, very beginning, and then nothing for years. So, and at the last meeting, it spoke to me that the owners weren't here. So, and I know there are issues, I know that they said, but anyway, the neighborhood was here, because they've been putting up with it for a long time.
Yeah.
So I think that we just keep moving forward.
okay. Have a consensus.
Sounds good. Just mentioning Carruthers anniversary celebration again, they have some open house times coming up, and just so if you have any questions, I've got the little invite here, this the official one. So I wanted to mention that because that is a significant accomplishment, 100 years, that's pretty good for being in business. Mention the Union Pacific Big Boy steam engine gonna be here tomorrow. If anybody wants to get up close or anything with that, let me know. And then the other things I wanted to touch on are Public Works Baptiste Drive extension. I think they've got all the kind of punch list items finalized, finished up. Baptiste Drive, hedge lane, right turn lane, they are supposed to, they're planning to walk through that on Friday. So I think they're trying to figure out, they got some striping, like exactly like how they're gonna technique wise do it. So that they're working through, but that should be a walkthrough on Friday. And the asphalt work that we approved at the last council meeting, they're gonna be here on Thursday and Friday this week to work on West Pankashaw and the 295th Street patching. So the other thing I want to talk about, we had this 16-inch water line that was leaking. It was it's an older line. They used a T instead of an elbow when they put it in there. I don't know when that was put in there. And Public Works, they went to shut it down and like cut it out and replace it. And we had trouble shutting it down. And we also created pressure issues in other parts of town. We broke other water lines. So we had to kind of back off of that. Kirk did a lot of legwork. So he should be commended that he did a lot of legwork, figured out that there was this one type of clamp. And we got one from, I think, Water One. And we were able to get one now rather than later. And they got that put on this morning and got it fixed and got it started backfilling it. And so I really wanted to say that I was proud of Kirk and the Public Works crew because they really worked hard to find a resolution, kind of persevered over this last week trying to get this figured out. Because sometimes these things aren't as straightforward as you would hope that they would be. And
Where was the
Where was
location?
the break?
it was not a break, it was a kind of an old joint that was leaking on basically Dewey and Pearl. And a big thank you to that homeowner. He's had a mess in front of his house for about a week, and so now we're able to kind of clean that up. So we appreciate his patience with us as we kind of work through that, so.
That's Darby. You know what I mean?
Who is it?
Darby, his last name.
I'm trying to think where Dewey and Pearl is.
Right there at the top of the hill, right up from the
Curtis.
El Portro.
Curtis.
Right
Darby.
up-
Oh,
yeah, Curtis
oh,
Darby
yes,
up
I
there.
saw that, yeah, yeah.
I know, I turned to
They've
go
got
up Pearl and I
barricades up
think.
Yeah, they have
"Man,
blocked
it's
off,
Pearl, and I'd have to turn and go.
Yeah.
I must have drove 50 miles.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much I used Pearl Street.
A lot of people do.
Mhm.
Yes, they do.
So anyway, that's all I have.
Stephanie?
We have a dog swim planned for August 30th, 6 to 7:30. This
You gonna sell
year,
dog tags?
No.
No.
you will have to have a rabies vaccine, a current vaccine, actual paper brought to the pool to be able to get in. We will have Regina's Rescue there doing microchipping for free. The dog park's also gonna be set up. So instead of charging an admission, we're gonna suggest a donation to either one of those groups. I kind of expect more people to reach out and see if they can attend, so we'll see what that brings. But yeah, August 30th
And they're doing dog chipping for free.
for free, yeah.
We ought to advertise that, so.
It is, it's on our website and the flyer on Facebook.
And our local paper. What day is that?
August 30th, it's a Monday.
And 2 years ago was the first year we did it, correct?
It was,
It
yeah,
was very popular. I
it
think.
was. We had about 20 people come to that, so. Everybody had a lot of fun.
Good.
That's all I have.
No, ma'am.
Randy?
Nothing new.
Okay, Lee?
Oh, man.
Okay, Harry?
We're working on planning a couple community events and bringing them back. In October, we're gonna do the Children's Fall Festival, which is a gathering we do here at the front of our building. And then we're also working on to get the Take Foundation back this winter to do the women's self-defense class that we've been doing in school for several years. So both of those are in the works.
Good. Brian? That's fine.
I
don't wanna leave you out. Okay, Dave?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing for me.
Nothing either, other than it sure is hot out.
You think?
Woo. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Smale.
Aye.
Upshaw.
Aye.
House.
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.